Hi, I'm Brian Alden. I'm here with head women's basketball coach Chris Paul, and we're here to talk about the 2014-15 women's basketball schedule we finally released. So, Chris, what kind of jumps out to you when you look at your schedule for this year?
Well, Brian, the first thing that pops out is, just maybe it's my age, but everything just goes faster. I feel like we just finished up and here we are doing this again. Um, Looking at the schedule, we did the same thing this year that we've done over the past years. We've made it pretty competitive. Right away when you have to open up at Illinois, that's asking for a challenge. But we've tried to put our players every year, and those that know me, and as long as we've been here, we try to make a very competitive non-conference schedule to prepare for a tough Summit League schedule, and I think we've done that again this year.
And last year, you played Michigan State. You pulled off the upset over them at the time they were ranked. This year, as you mentioned, you're playing Illinois. You're also playing Big Ten Indiana again for the second straight year. Playing co-champion West Virginia out of the Big 12. Talk about those kind of three games since those are the ones that most people are going to recognize.
Well, I can tell you right now that Friday, November 14th at Illinois, we will not sneak up on them because of what we did at Michigan State. But, the thing about it is recruits look at it. They see that we're going to be playing in some pretty neat arenas and against top-notch competition. And our players now know, we were very competitive against Purdue at Purdue. We almost got a game here against Indiana, and then we were able to go on the road and beat Michigan State. So our players now are not walking into those arenas, fearful or scared of what can happen. Are the odds stacked against us? Absolutely. But it prepares us for them coming home for two more home games against Grace and Evansville before we go back out on the road. I think by playing a tough schedule, it prepares you. We had a great home record last year. We just have to try to find a way in here to win a little bit more of our non-conference games and our conference games on the road.
This year you're open up at Grace versus Grace
Mm-hmm.
on your annual Fitness Day challenge. Kind of talk about what that means and having all those young kids here supporting the program.
Well, I would love if our Fitness Day challenge was like Wichita State when we were there and they had 10,000 kids there. But it's a neat environment. Our players have to get used to 11:30 start time, but it's right during our practice time, so we should be fine. It's interesting though because you see all those kids out there, and yes, they have blue and they want to root for IPFW, but they're really just having a lot of fun in the stands. So sometimes they end up cheering for both teams. But it's neat that we can get the community involved. We can get a lot of schools out here and play that game as our home opener.
And then talk about kind of finally, you end December, you open up January with 4 consecutive home games. Talk about what that kind of does for the team in leading up to the start of conference season.
Well, Brian, we had to do that when we look at, okay, we're going to play at Indiana, then 3 days later we're going to play at West Virginia. That's a tough stretch. So we had to try to balance the schedule out with some home games. So then you come home with Oakland, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Trine, and then you open up conference play with Western Illinois. That really has to be the point of the season where we kickstart it. Now, I'm not saying we're going to have a bad start, but you have to be playing some of your best, if not your best basketball right there at the beginning of the season, because we're going to end the season with 3 of the last 4 games on the road, and then obviously we have to go back out to South Dakota again. So those 4 home games are going to be an important stretch for us, and not only those 4 games though, then we go to IUPUI, which isn't bad travel, very good basketball team, but isn't bad travel, and then we come home for 2 more. So in reality, 6 of 7 at home, excuse me, and your farthest trip is to Indianapolis, we've got an opportunity there to make a nice little run and get off to a good start.
And just kind of close it out, talking about, the Summit League this year. We had a very competitive conference tournament last year. You had Denver, IUPUI, us, along with South Dakota State making the postseason tournament. Just kind of talk a little bit about the league this year.
Well, I think what people are seeing is the Summit League is very, very talented, very competitive, and there's some really good teams. I mean, when you talk about, what IUPUI has done the last couple of years, obviously what South Dakota State has done, and they didn't even go to the NCAA tournament. It was South Dakota who went. And then you add us as going to postseason play. So when you take 4 teams from a league to postseason play, that tells you that it's a pretty good conference. Now all of a sudden you're adding Oral Roberts back in, who, has been down the last couple of years, but has a tremendous history and it's a tough place to play. There are no gimmies, and we just have to make sure that we take care of our home games. try to steal, some games on the road and put ourselves in position there early in March to make a run at this thing.